All right, everybody. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be joined by Amanda Litman, founder of Run for Something, author of books, veteran of campaigns, and a hardworking optimist. Amanda, it's great to talk with you.
Always delighted to be here.
Hey, before anything else, I want to say Emily Gregory and thank you in the same sentence.
Hmm. She is a phenomenal leader. We're so glad to have helped her flip that seat in Florida.
Yeah, and just so those of you who are listening, that seat in Florida is the one where Mar-a-Lago is. So,
That's
so
right. Trump was endorsing against her, was helping her opponent, and now he's represented by her in the state house. You truly love to see it.
I just love it, love it, love it, love it. And this cycle, I think, are you? This might be the biggest crop of endorsed candidates. I looked on your website; it looks like you're endorsing 75 candidates right now, and I think that's the
So
biggest crop ever, isn't it?
Well, we're getting there. So we have 276 candidates so far for 2026. My guess is we will exceed 400, which is beyond our goal for the year. Our goal was about 300. The record recruitment year we had in 2025, as it turns out, is paying off big time because we have had just unprecedented numbers of people seeking our endorsement, which is good because there's actually a lot of places we could win this year if we're fielding really good candidates.
Well, let's talk about some of those. I mean, this should be a great year if we have good candidates.
That's the idea. We've got some great folks running in places that, Republicans have been holding power for decades. We have a guy in Maryland who literally founded the Turning Points USA chapter in his high school and then left the Republican Party and is now competing in a district that I believe Trump won 30 points. We've got amazing city council candidates and school board candidates. We've got a woman, a Paralympian named Sophia Gibbs, running for a county recorder office, and she's an election administrator in Colorado, trying to make sure she oversees elections. We have this leader named
So
Jackie
important.
McGuire running for Marana Town Council in Arizona, who's really trying to fight and then leading the fight against data centers there. Like, this is the kind of people you want in these offices. So I'm just really excited for this cycle. I think we're going to end the year in a really good place, which I would not have believed if you had said that to me 18 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, just when you describe these offices, you are building the future ecosystem of a Democratic Party. You're building the base from which people will gain experience and hone their talents and be part of our political world. Certainly for the rest of my life.
No, that's the idea. The other thing I love about this year is that the fact that we've now been around for almost 10 years means we have so many of our alum running for higher office. You've got people like James Tallarico in Texas, Mallory McMorrow in Michigan, Zach Walls in Iowa, Alexis Hill in Nevada, who's running for governor there, Jermaine Johnson running for governor in South Carolina, and just dozens of our folks running for Congress. We've built this amazing bench that's starting to rise, and I think they're going to make the Democratic Party better because of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a moment that is shaping. I mean, the baby boomers are leaving the stage. I'm add reluctantly, and sometimes you need to get a hook, but they're leaving the stage. And when they do, it's always unclear in generational change what follows. But you've worked with these candidates. You've help them think about what public service is, and some of them have come to you with a lot of talent.
Yeah, that's right. Like they've got local leadership experience. They've got communities that they've been in connection with for in some cases years, if not more than a decade. They know how to govern. They know how to communicate. They have really strong values. And they're not all ideologically aligned. We've got folks running all across the country who come at politics a little bit differently, but they're generally values aligned, which is really what we're looking for out of a Democratic Party and a big tent one at that.
Yeah, let's take a minute on that. I don't want to live in a country where everybody thinks the same thing. That would be a bore.
Hmm.
And I don't want to be part of a political party that's intolerant of difference. You can have European style, one issue parties, I guess, in a parliamentary system. And the Republicans have become a one person party. Um, just sort of devoid of principle. But you want to have these different voices um, united by the respect that allows us to work through those differences.
I think that's right. And I think for us, we really try to work with candidates who reflect the place they're running. The candidate
Right.
running for Anchorage School Board is going to be a little different than the candidate running for City Council in New York or School Board in Iowa. And that's fine. We don't need them to all be the same, but we do need them to be really rooted in the place they're running. That's what allows us to be able to win in places that, Trump won by 20 points or 30 points. It's reflecting the communities they serve.
Well, and they have to love those communities. I mean, be from them and want
Mhm.
to really work for them. That's what makes the
I think that's
democracy
right.
work.
People
Yeah,
underestimate that. They underestimate how important it is to actually love the place you're leading, because we
right?
can really smell it when somebody doesn't actually like the people they want to represent.
Yeah. Cue Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio. Yeah. Uh,
Hmm.
right. It makes a big difference. And um, the, when Republicans look at the Democratic Party, they they aim for whatever they think is the outlier that can frighten their base the most, and say, "See, this is who
Hmm.
Democrats are." And you say, "Wait a minute, here's a whole class of Democrats," and and they cover a pretty wide spectrum, as America does.
That's exactly right. And I think they like to, oh, Democrats are Zoran Mamdani. We're not saying that every Democrat is like Zoran Mamdani ideologically. We're saying that every Democrat can love the place they're running, can be connected to their
Yep.
voters, can communicate to them, can promise specific things they want to deliver. And I think especially for our folks running for local office, that's really the superpower they have, even better than many of the congressional candidates, is they can talk about real things they want to do. They can talk about building housing. They can talk about roads. They can talk about childcare. And then in many circumstances, if they win, they're actually going to be able to do it, which completes the loop. It's, run for office, win election, deliver on your promises, rebuild the brand of the party as as an institution that can get things done. I think it's so meaningful and it's just so badly needed right now. So I'm really proud that
So
we're able to be a
badly
part of it.
needed. I mean, I remember as a child, I mean, this is a long time ago. I'm not a child, I was in my late 20s, but I was a Chicago alderman and I knew how many streetlights there were, how many miles of
Mhm.
curbs there were. And I worked and I could talk in community meeting after community meeting about how many light bulbs got fixed that week, how many trees got planted. I mean, just stuff that the basic stuff of governing, you have to do well for people and you have to like doing it. I don't know, you can't fake that.
That's exactly right. And that's why I think our local leaders are need to be the ones that we put the biggest megaphones to this year. If you're
Yeah.
running for Congress, there's a lot of stuff you could promise, but most people aren't going to feel it if there's, hearings and Trump accountability
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
That's important. Don't get me wrong. Super important.
important but
But
abstract.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
abstract. And
Yeah.
if we want people to actually feel the impact of our leadership, we've got to put the eyes and the attention on these local leaders and governors too, I would say, but the state and local folks.
Well, they're the other side has understood that for a long time, and they have, I
Mhm.
think, done enormous damage to America because they understood the power of state and local government. And I think many Democrats have, but we haven't paid as much attention to it as we should have.
I think that's right. When you think about the billions of dollars that will be spent on Senate races and House races this year, it's exponentially more than we are likely to spend on every school board and city council and mayor's race combined, I would imagine.
I'm sure that's right. Well, there are, and I mean, we should say this. I know you know this, but for those of you listening, there are enormous problems in the way we all raise money for politics. Enormous problems if the money's focused on things that don't always impact our lives in the way they should.
I've been getting asked a lot lately, like, where should I be putting my money? Where should I be putting my attention? And I tell them, Sherrod Brown, God bless. We should, he needs to win that seat in Ohio, but your $20 isn't going to do that much for him. That doesn't mean don't do it, but if you really want to help him win, if you're like, Ohio is the place I want to engage, think about a school board race or a city council race or a state legislative race in Ohio. where the dollars will go much further and the voters that they're talking to will also show up and vote for the Democratic candidate for Senate. The same is true in all of these states. As local as you can give, your money goes further, your support goes further. And I
Right.
promise you, if our House or Senate candidates don't win, it's not going to be because they don't have the cash. They are getting flooded with money, and that's a good thing. But the local races underneath them aren't and can still help them win. So think more
Yeah.
local, the better you
I
can.
mean, my experience here in this city, and I'm, I guess, Chicagoan, is that when you have a really interesting and really hotly fought city council race, for example, that there are sometimes more votes in that than higher up in the on the ballot. It's just more interesting for people, but that just means it's
Hmm.
drawing voters to show up who otherwise wouldn't have, and that's very good for the top of the ticket.
I think that's exactly right. We call that reverse coattails or nested
Yep.
opportunities, places where you can get a lot more out of giving people a local entry point.
Um, what have you learned? What's different now than when you started? I mean, this is such an odd moment. And what are you hearing from your crop of candidates about the country?
Oh, that's such a good question. I will say some things haven't changed. We're still seeing people really eager to run for office on housing, on childcare, on transportation. We're hearing people talk about healthcare and opioids and mental health care. The one thing that's different, honestly, is that there's a
Yeah,
lot of
issues
people
we
this
haven't
year.
solved. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hearing people talk about their frustration with the Democratic Party. Like they are running for office quite specifically because they feel like our leaders and our party are not fighting hard enough. They are deeply frustrated with current leadership and they are so tired of being told to like wait your turn, get to the back of the line. I promise you we've got it. Like you don't got it. So that's the thing that has really surprised me over the last 16 or 18 months is how much people are just frustrated with the current iteration of the Democratic Party.
And I want to make a distinction a little bit here.
Mhm.
You're talking about like again, as I said at the beginning, there's this crowd of people my age who you have to get the hook to get off the stage, and they're telling everybody to wait. Um, I and that I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. I'm a little nervous about the Democrats, most of whom are my age, who are also uncomfortable with the They spend a lot of time talking about what the Democrats are doing wrong, even though they've been in that leadership position in the party forever. And I think every time
Mhm.
they do it, it makes it more expensive for every Democrat across the country to run because it's them saying the Democratic brand is toxic and it makes it toxic.
It's a fine line to walk. I think one of the challenges in this moment is like you got to meet voters where they are. Voters don't
Yep,
like the Democratic Party. So you have to be able to promise to change it. I do think this is one of the challenges of any incumbent right now, especially one in a competitive primary. Is like
yep,
really you're the one who's going to fix the brand that you've helped break. It's like asking the arsonist to help put out the fire. It's a
yep.
really tough argument.
So what are the things that the new crop will do that the old crop is in the way of?
I think especially when it comes to fighting harder, thinking more creatively about what different levers you can use, whether it's on a city level, like how can we keep ICE from opening detention centers within city limits? How can
Right,
you make it,
right.
impossible for or illegal for local law enforcement to work with immigration or like put barriers of entry around that? How can you keep them from entering
Yeah,
schools? There's like some real
yeah,
levers you can pull there. I also think,
that's absolutely right. The
stylistically,
politics of let's make a deal, which is the old
yeah.
school, it is
When I
you can't make a good deal with a bad partner, and right now we got a bad partner, so we should stop playing let's make a deal.
I think especially if you've come up of age like in the last decade, this is not the Republican Party of, John McCain or Mitt Romney or George W. Bush. This is Trump's party all the way down. You cannot pretend these are good faith operators who are just trying to negotiate around the margins. No, they don't want to do the work. They don't want things to function. They don't want it to be a fair and just society. You cannot pretend otherwise. So I do think that's one of the challenges. I also think
Yeah,
that the candidates that we're working with coming up are so good at communicating in the way people get attention, that get their information now. Like they are thinking really intentionally about being active on Instagram, on TikTok, on Reddit, on Nextdoor, wherever their community is, both online and in person. They really understand that you can't just do good things or try to do good things and then hope people know about it. You actually have to sell the work that you're doing. You have to stay in
Yep.
relationship with people. And, God bless some of these older members of Congress, but if you have to explain to them what the video needs to be before you help them make it, like they're not going to be fluent in that genre of content.
I totally agree with that. And most members of Congress, but it's part of the challenge of the way the job works. It's very easy for them to lose touch with the communities they serve. Some don't. Some have been
I think
phenomenal, but it's easy to lose touch. Yeah.
they get to leave. They don't really have a life or a sense of purpose outside of it. And Tina Smith, the senator from Minnesota, who is retiring and who is stepping aside, was asked this really explicitly: like, why is it so hard for your colleagues to take their cues from you and to also like make room for the next generation? She said point blank in an interview with Kara Swisher, they don't know who they are outside of this job. They don't know who their friends are. They don't know what their family like life could look like. They've never not been staffed. They don't know, and it's scary. And I have deep empathy for that. That seems really, really hard. And also, our democracy is at stake. We're in a crisis. This is not the time to privilege your ego or your feelings above what's good for the country.
I agree with that. Um, so this new group uh, is eager for change and for justice. It sounds like. I mean, the issues that you have laid out, like let's not let ICE into schools, it
Hmm.
is it right, and that like I cannot believe that in America today that is something we have to fight over, but in fact is something we have to learn to fight better about because it's a real fight.
That's exactly right. And that's just one of so many examples. People thinking really intentionally about protection, about how to protect elections going ahead of, not just 2026, but
Mm-hmm.
2028 and beyond, thinking about how to protect voters, thinking about how to protect women and people trying to grow their family or affect their family planning. They, the local offices that we have people running for are both the front lines of the offense in terms of good governance, but also the front lines of defense in terms of like being as close to people as you can and helping protect them. It's why these offices are so important beyond all the normal reasons why they usually matter right now. Like this is it. This is where the battlefield is.
Do you know? Once knew, and I can't remember how many elected offices there actually are in America. I mean, it's a huge
The last
number.
count is over 500,000.
Over 500,000, right? Over 500,000. So when we think about the president and Congress, and we think they don't work very well, and we think Americans are going to abandon their democracy, and then you think about the 500,000 other elected offices around the country where people actually see the fruits of their democracy. They know it makes a difference who they put in the mayor's chair. They know it makes a difference who they put in their city council chair. They even know it makes a difference who's on their school boards. It makes a big difference. And I mean, this is the stuff that affirms democracy, even as people are trying to tear it down.
I mean, I feel this quite vividly as a New Yorker. I got to vote for Zoran Mamdani in the Democratic primary last spring, and then again in the general election in November. And he ran on very specific things, including expanding universal childcare and bringing free childcare across New Yorkers. I'm a parent of
Yep,
two little kids. My daughter is in
yep,
a free 3K program right now. The idea that he is then on, like, I think it was day 8, made a deal with Kathy Hochul, the governor, to expand both the 3K program and bring about 2K, like I will feel that in my life. And I will
yep.
confess, I found it a very moving policy announcement, which is kind of weird to say because it was such an important reminder that you don't win elections just to win. You win elections so that you can govern and improve people's lives and remind them that you can actually make a promise you can then keep. Like what a beautiful proof point of how democracy can actually function and how government can do good.
Yeah, I mean, I want to divorce the man's drive and his talent to get things done from the content of what he's doing. That drive and that
Mhm.
talent matters in uh, if you're running for office in Dallas, where they probably
That's
wouldn't
right.
want to do the things you just did in New York. But you can't get anything done if you don't focus on how government works and focus on the connections with people, like the governor in his case, that you need in order to get things done.
Well, and I bet even in Dallas, they would be eager for free childcare. They'd be eager for affordable housing. They'd be eager for better transportation options. Maybe the details
Boy,
are a
I
little bit
hope so.
different, but everyone just wants a place to live, be able to raise their
That's
family how they'd like, and be able to
yeah,
get
yeah,
around.
yeah,
There's some,
yeah.
negotiating around the edges, but none of this is rocket science.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people who don't believe in it, Amanda, who are dismantling it as you and I are talking, feverishly
Hmm.
dismantling it. I mean, public transit, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that's we feel that here in Chicago, as you do in New York.
totally.
Yeah. Um, I, I, I guess I have to ask you this too. So if the Democratic Party it wants to mean something, it really cannot have sore losers who, when they don't win the primary against Mamdani, say, I'm going to run as an independent.
Hmm. That's correct. Sure is true. I think
Yeah.
that, writ large, vote blue no matter who has to count no matter where ideological fall across the left spectrum. You go through the primary is a chance to really like lay out your markers, decide where you want the party to go. But once that primary is over, get on board because we've got an election to win in November.
We have an election to win in November. And how do people who may miss this cycle, but maybe they just heard you and are like, oh my God, I got to do this. What do they do?
So it's not too late in some places. There are still filing deadlines coming up in a few states. And if it's definitely not too early to get started for 2027 or for 2028, you can go to runforwhat.net. You can look up what offices you might be able to run for. We'll give you the deadlines. We'll give you the details. You'll get invited to conference calls we're hosting, as well as the online Run for Something community, where we've got trainings for you. You can talk to other people thinking about running, our experts, our mentors. And we've got all kinds of resources for you, no matter what stage of the journey you're in. And if you're listening and you're already running for office, we would love to help your campaign, or at least if we can. So you can go to our website at runforsomething.net and apply for our endorsement, or look up any of the hundreds of candidates we've got running on the ballot this year and see if there's someone near you might want to lend a hand with.
I love Run for Something. I think it's so
Oh, thank
important.
you.
And I think it is so uh, values consonant with what America is, right? People want to help their communities. And one of and they do it in lots of ways. Not all of them are political, many of them aren't political. But if you want to help your community through politics, it can be scary, it can be confusing, and you say, no, there are on ramps and anybody can do it.
I really do believe that. It has been such an honor and a privilege over the last 10 years to be part of people's journey, from going from person who cares to person who runs to person who leads and who actually delivers for folks. And I've seen
Yep.
totally ordinary people, and I don't mean that in an insulting way at all. It's like totally ordinary people step up and do extraordinary things. And
That's the thing
to
about
watch
ordinary
that happen
Americans.
in real time, like, what a
Yep.
gift.
And I know, and this is a good pitch for you guys. I think every American should once in their lifetime run for office. I just think you learn about
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you learn about your community, you learn, um, you gain so much empathy by talking
Mm-hmm.
to people every day as part of running for office. It's a transformative and lovely experience, despite the politics.
And I think a lot about what now Congressman Sarah McBride once told me, which is if you want to love the place you live, run for office.
Yeah,
If you want
it
to
really
love your
matters.
home, it's beautiful.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. And everybody who's listening, go to Run for Something, go find out what you can run for, and you'll get help. You'll get help.
Always happy to chat.
Thank you, Amanda.